Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Kryptonite Show. Your host Superman in the house, and we're going to have a bit of fun with this topic because secrets exposed are coming out non-stop about the corruption of the Democrats, and so we're going to get into a lot of that. Democrats, corruption, politics, and power. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, corruption, politics, and power. It is a pretty big prize for them, and of course, we know many of the things they want to do to us if they had it. Imagine if they had won the election and President Trump had not won the election. Oh my goodness, it would have been absolute nightmare. And of course, the Democrats want to head towards permanent power, and immigration was a big, big way they were going to do that, particularly illegal immigration into the United States, and the majority, of course, almost 99%, something like that, to the southern border, which Trump has clamped down on within the first week or two. So a pretty amazing job there from the borders are Tom Homan there. So pretty amazing. We're going to get into a lot of that. So if you are loving this stuff, and especially over on Rumble, really excited over on Rumble, getting a great crowd over there. Big shout out there. If you love crypto, if you love variety shows covering politics, sports, and many other topics, then this is the channel for you. Follow and share it around, and definitely get into the chat as well. And of course, post your opinions. So let's get into it, folks, without much further ado. And let's check out some of the cool things that are happening here that we're going to be talking about coming up. So at the moment, there's a big deal with voting. So we're going to get into that and talk about the voting as well. So let's jump onto that side as well. So voting is very important. So let's bring that up. President Donald Trump has talked about the fact that in Wisconsin's there is a very important referenda. Question 1 on the April the 1st ballot to amend the state constitution to require voter ID. Now, for any democracy, voter ID just makes sense, right? The Democrat Party was ignoring voter IDs so that they could flood the U.S. with people that weren't citizens and they could vote. It's a pretty crazy place, right? And they were making it as easy as peasy as they could to do. Now, obviously, but then the Democrats turned around and said you need ID for COVID and all sorts of other things, which just shows you what they're up to, right? This and other election integrity measures, including banning drop boxes. And we've seen video after video after video of drop boxes, and of course trucks as well coming on the same day. We saw that in the election in 2016. And it was pretty crazy. I'm sorry, 2020. We saw that in election in 2020, and that was pretty crazy. Shutting down the battleground states, the United States, and then flipping the results overnight when they locked it down. And of course, trucks coming in into some of those battleground state votings. So we saw the absolute corruption. It was horrendous there. And of course, the Democrats and the judges all pretended there was nothing to see here, which was absolutely ridiculous, right? So even though you capture on video, they will say nothing has happened. Nothing happened. This is the kind of upside down world that they think they have. And of course, with the old legacy mainstream media, they managed to pass that through, right? That's kind of where they are. But of course, new media is rising very fast. And of course, on Rumble, there's Tim Pool and of course the Crowder Show. There's many out there, Don Jr., everybody doing great shows over on Rumble. And of course on YouTube, it's a little bit more difficult to grow. But there's definitely plenty of channels here on YouTube, and of course also over on X, right? So lots of different new media is rising. So this another election integrity measure, says Trump, including banning drop boxes in the same day voting with paper ballots, can only happen if you get out and vote. So people had to get out in Wisconsin to vote there. Very fundamental vote. For state Supreme Court, make sure to vote for America First patriot Brad Schimmel against Susan Crawford, a radical left liberal with a history of letting child molesters and rapists off easy. Now, we see that in the UK. This is where it fully flourishes, right? You see with the dictator there, the authoritarian ruler, Prime Minister Starmer, they're putting in people for social posts into prison, mothers, grandmothers, daughters, children, and it doesn't matter who it is, and then letting out murderers and rapists out into the society. You got judges that sit there that are absolutely corrupt, calling something that is good evil, something that is evil good. And so we're really in an upside down world there. So this is very fundamental. These people are absolutely crazy and insane. And of course, we've got to get them out of power, right? Now, she will be one of the most liberal judges ever elected, which would be a disaster for Wisconsin and the United States of America. So important. please get out and vote yes on question 1 and vote for Brad Schimmel to the Supreme Court tomorrow. And that was in April, right? So that is upon us pretty much in the next 24 hours. So pretty big deal there to tidy up the voting and, of course, to also lock out, illegal immigrants to vote because it's not their country. They're breaking the law, right? They're illegally. And of course, Trump has already shut it down, but we know there's probably at least 12 to 15 million that have come over during the Biden time. And of course, probably another 16 million or more before that in the decades before. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. With that, to tidy up the elections, to get election integrity, and of course, stop the Democrats from getting permanent political power. My gosh, I mean, imagine letting out murderers and rapists out in the street, legalizing pedophilia. That's what they want to do. They want to get consent to kids. They want to give kids consent. That's what they tried to start doing during the COVID. They wanted to give kids consent on health measures. If they could do that, they can get them consent to adult activities as well. So it would have been a nightmare. And of course, they're trying to normalize the language as well with the woke brigade, which is pretty evil stuff. So really, to keep them out, you've got to keep them out of power. And that's a big movement, right? So this is from Donald Trump. Now, the other thing, of course, is a lot of illegals have been coming in. And actually today, Elon Musk did a very good video with another person in his Dodge team. And of course, they exposed some pretty big stuff. They're looking to cut down costs in the United States. And so let's have a look at the United States debt at the moment. Obviously, this is what they started off doing, which is a very fundamental thing. The US debt at the moment, 36.7 trillion US dollars. That is $107,000 per citizen, $323,000 per taxpayer, and it's horrendous, right? That equals 122% of the federal debt to GDP ratio, 122%. So it's pretty insane. Compared to 1980, that was only 34%. So that's how bad it has become. And of course, that's a big problem. And we know that the Democrats love spending. They love spending on all sorts of things. And of course, they just pay out all their student, student unions and all that sort of stuff. They are paying all their friends. And of course, what we've seen with USAID recently with Dodge exposed the fact that hundreds of billions of dollars are going to them. And how many kickbacks will there be? So we're expecting to see a lot of court cases coming up in the next few years because there's going to be a lot of people in Congress and other places that will have been corrupt, right? And so receiving money, getting kickbacks on all these programs. So it's an absolute disaster. Now on here on US debt clock, we can see that at the moment US federal spending is 7.1 trillion. The US budget deficit is 2 trillion. The amount of debt related to debt repayments is 1 trillion. So half of the budget deficit is just in debt. So it's absolutely useless to you. It's really bad. And of course, that's also partly feeding the Chinese development military as well. So there's some absurdities happening there. Now, in terms of the Social Security, we can see that's at 1.5 trillion, Medicare just under 1.7 trillion, and the defense budget is $890 billion. Now, obviously, in the world at the moment, Trump is ideally wanting to reduce the military budget, but of course, he can't at the moment because of the geopolitical wars and political threats, potential threats out in the world today. So, obviously, the Ukraine-Russia war, making peace there, the Middle East, of course, with Iran. With, of course, Hamas and, of course, also with the Houthis at the moment. And then, of course, there are other little firefights going around the world. You've got South Africa with the reverse apartheid. You've got North Africa with the Islamists running around. So there's lots of different problems. You've got the Chinese with their war flotillas moving down around Australia. Currently got a spy ship at the moment. Looks like it's probably surveying Australia for any potential attack or ground invasion. So you've got lots of different things going on in the world that Trump is trying to address. So really, reducing the military is the last thing he needs to keep that up, and of course develop new weapons, which he is doing. Ultimately, he wants to reduce the nuclear arsenals in the world. At the moment, the US has got about 1,770 active live nuclear missiles that are available, and of course, about 80 to 90 of them are actually facing North Korea. And of course, North Korea's got to be careful with that. So that's kind of some of the places we've got at the moment. Now, obviously, Social Security and Medicare were two places where the Democrats were jumping up and down when Elon Musk was going through the Dodge efficiencies, going through the budget there. And of course, it turns out that they weren't really touching any of that. But what they did want to do is reduce crime and fraud in there, right? And there was tons of it. So you can save billions of dollars just by doing that. And of course, then providing better services and more services to American citizens that are legitimately eligible to it. So getting rid of corruption and fraud, very big deal. And there's a lot of it in there. And the other one, of course, we saw was USAID. They shut that down, of course, moved some of the loan grants and things like that to the State Department. Pretty big deal there. And of course, USAID was just an absolute crime fest. That thing is, there's a lot of people are going to go down over that. And so we're going to be watching that in the future as well, particularly amongst the Democrats. Now, every time you see a so-called bipartisan bill go through where the Democrats had control under the Biden era, they would always pretty much blackmail to get a lot of money in there to pay off their mates. And of course, very little went to actually the cause, the purpose of the bill. So you got all that to come out too. So there's a lot of stuff's going to come out. It's going to be pretty crazy, right? Now, that's kind of where we're at the moment. Obviously, Trump's got to get through all the budget and spending and taxes and things like that before July the 4th, hopefully earlier, May, June, hopefully. So we'll see how that all processes as well, because obviously Democrats are pretty corrupt and they don't want any political wins. They're in demise in the US right now. From all the surveys, we see that they're really struggling. And of course, that is a good news for common sense for mum and dads out there and for families and everybody else, because their ideologies, their power control are horrendous. And of course, you guys know they also work with the globalists. And of course, they are trying to take permanent power and manage decline of the United States. Trump's saying, no managed decline, no transfer of power to the globalists. And we're going to make the old golden age of America. So they're two very different worldviews. One's based on common sense, on justice. The other one's based on control and power, and of course, making everybody slaves. So I know which one I like, and I'm sure you guys know which one you like. So it's going to be very important to move forward with that. So at the moment, we've got the Dodge on the Dodge clock says they've found $266 billion. That's dollars. So they're obviously targeting at least $1 trillion. That would halve the US federal budget by $1 trillion. On the official Dodge page, we can see the savings are currently showing at 140 billion. So there's a discrepancy there. Not sure what is causing that, but at the moment, it's probably this upper number that's probably more correct, the 266. But actually, at the moment on Dodge, they're saying 140. So there's probably reasons for that. Now, at the moment, of course, we found they were looking at trying to look through the Social Security and Medicare and stuff like that, and they found out some big stuff today with Elon Musk. So we're going to watch this video here, and I'm going to comment the way through. So if you've got any comments about it as well, get them in the chat there. If you're on Rumble or over here on YouTube, do that as well. So let's check this out.
And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where how many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah, so let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of it.
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff they're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers, and look how it just absolutely rocketed. It's just unbelievable there under the Biden administration.
This is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed us in this direction. I want to honor them right now, that work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today. Very good people. Very good people. I have been from D.C. to Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border, they do what's called a release your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people, okay?
That's insane. 5.5 million people, only 700 judges. It's just horrendous numbers. These are just crazy. And this is what the Biden administration and Democrats are trying to do.
So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we map the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number.
Is that insane? So you apply for a work permit, you automatically get a Social Security number. Insanity, insanity, insanity. All the US taxpayers are paying for this. It's just unbelievable. And these are people that have crossed into the United States illegally.
No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen...
And that's how powerful this was, right? So overturning democracy by rigging the maps and getting rid of, flooding the illegal immigrants into battleground states in particular, turning the whole United States blue, Congress, Senate, and then, of course, the presidency. The whole thing is just a shoo-in. And, of course, that's going to end up impacting the judges as well. Once you get the Supreme Court, you can call, a killing good, and you can call not killing bad. It's just that upside down world. And we see this manifesting in Canada. We see it manifesting big time in the UK right now. And of course, across Europe as well, which has all got that same terrible ideology, which globalists use, of course. And that's what they enslave people through fear. And of course, the laws that they have. So it's pretty crazy. And police and military generally won't save you. They just generally just do what they're told. And we've seen that during the lockdowns and COVID, right? So they just I don't know what ethics they run with, but they just turn them over and just do what they're told. So don't expect them to, stand up for what's right. It's very rare that event to occur.
This myself, I'm not sure I believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people.
Max pay, so max budgeting for these people. To make them flourish and happy. If they're happy with Democrats because they're giving all these, they're getting the life that they always dreamed of for free, then they basically will vote for Democrats. So they're just guaranteeing that propensity that they will vote for them because they're the ones that let them in and then put them up in hotels and let them, live and work and the rest of it without any problems there. So they made it all really worth it.
And minimum collection, that's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people in those benefit programs. And then what was really...
That number is insane. So that's how much they're tapping into that Social Security number. And of course, if you can get all that out, you're actually saving money. And then it goes back to the citizens, right? Remember, these people from all countries all around the world, not just South America, but human trafficking through China, through every country, Africa. It's all coming from India. Places everywhere, right?
Really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote.
So not only are they getting all the perks and benefits for free by illegally crossing into America, which is from taxpayer money, so that's from your money if you're in America, and you're working hard for it, that's going to other people. And of course, who are illegally in America, you're also voting against you now. So your vote is being cancelled out potentially by someone else vote. If you're voting Republican, it's being cancelled out by somebody that's not even a citizen. And of course, they are going to cancel you out. It's a real tyranny of justice. Now, remember, America is a very generous country. They have over 1 million legal immigrants a year at least. And of course, it's been one of the main destinations in the world for decades of people flooding from the rest of the world into the United States. So you can see maps of those flows consistently. And so America has really been a place where it has welcomed people. But when you've got, instead of 1 million coming in, you've got 10 to 12 million over 4 years, so 3 or 4 million a year. It's an insanity, right? It's an insanity there. And of course, a lot of them are very bad people, that are being brought into the country, not just good people, it's generally good people as well, but a lot of bad people, criminals. And of course, those are people that Trump has been, getting out of the country. Something maybe like 50, 60,000 of those murderers and rapists already left. That's keeping your cities safe. That reduces the chance of, really bad things happening to you when you're on trains and buses. Man, it's just so unlucky if you're in the wrong place at the right time. And of course, the more that come in, the bigger the chances are that you're going to be attacked, and you're just minding your business. Could just be sitting in the bus. The next minute, you know it, you got a knife, in you, being pushed at you or whatever. There's just constantly problems with that. So it really is horrendous. And now they can vote you out as well. I mean, it's just great. Well, it's the last insult, right?
In this population, yes.
And who did vote?
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote, and we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already, that is already happening right now. Yeah.
So not only are they identifying these issues around immigration, around Social Security, around voting, but they're also getting them reported as well. So they're actually giving solutions here, looking to cut costs, get rid of corruption, and clean up the election system.
And the truly disturbing thing, though, I just want you to know this, a truly disturbing thing to me, and the darkest thing about this to me, the voter fraud is terrible, but the human tragedy this created is extraordinary, because what you don't understand, and people don't know, and Americans need to know, that's why I'm here, is that human traffickers made $13 to $15 billion off of this. Okay? That's the money that's going around the world, moving people.
So we know that the gangs and the crime lords, and particularly at the border, South America, they fight over territory over there. They're trafficking all these people from not just South America but around the world. And we also know that something like 1/3 of women get sexually assaulted. We know a lot of people can be killed as well for different reasons. We know that children can be abused, sexually abused, beaten, and of course, a lot of them end up becoming bonded slaves as well, because they have to pay money, and some of them it's quite horrendous. And when they get to America, they got they got to find a job and all sorts of stuff. There's it's not that, even though they're getting all these benefits, it's not that easy. Still, it's still tough life for a lot of them. And if they're bonded, they've got to pay back their debt, right? So it's a real bad problem.
Around the world to our borders because of these incentives. How does it work? What happens? Hey, if you're in Africa and you're in Central America, you got to walk up through Mexico, through Central America. Who do you pay? You pay the narcos, you pay the traffickers, right? And we were told by ICE, it's between $20,000 and $500, depends where they pick you up, to walk across all those countries and get all the way up to the border. Where's that money goes? It goes to the cartels. It goes to human traffickers, right? There are 30,000 children that have not appeared on the notice to appear already. ICE knows this. 30,000 children, 270,000 children didn't even get notices to appear. ICE told us that kids are being trafficked back and forth across the border to complete families to make this easier. This is a
so they're cycling children back as well, and it's pretty horrendous. So they bring the children back around, and they bring more families in with the same children. They go back around and back around. There's a lot of that. But a lot of these kids also end up in terrible adult work, sex work, trafficking, factories. They get to America, and sometimes they go into basements which might have some sort of sewing machine or something like that, and they never come back out for a good 10 years, right? They've got to pay off the amounts. And so it's really, there's a lot of horrendous things going, and Trump's trying to clean all this up. The Democrats love it. The Democrats don't care about people at all. People are just slaves to them, and they're capable of doing anything against the people for power and money. It really is quite sickening. So we are lucky that we have the golden age of Trump coming up, back to normalcy and common sense. So he has to do some tough things, though, to clean it up, because they did so many bad things. So it is a big deal.
Human tragedy. It's not just the money, it's the people and the kids. And how many of these people died on the way up here that didn't make it in? What happened to them? We created a system here that created an incentive for people to come and be taken advantage of by these traffickers. And how do you think they get paid? Well, you're in Africa, Central America, you got $20,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 to pay these traffickers? No, you don't. What happens? You come in, then you owe them the money. You're an indentured servant. If you don't pay them, what happens? What do? They kill your mother, they kill your brother, they kill your family. What happens next? That's what we discovered. And I have to tell you, it's tragic to me. The tragedy, the human tragedy this created is extraordinary. That's the real problem. This is America. We don't do this here in America.
Yeah.
We don't.
So the Democrats are ironic, right? They talk about we're not the party of all these slavery and all this stuff. Of course, they were the party of slavery, but they also are enslaving people again. It's just in another form. I mean, they really are a sick, hideous party, and so it is a big, big problem. So that was their. So that was pretty interesting video there as well. And we've got some comments in the chat there before we read it out. We've got Excavator again. Good to see Excavator. Big shout out. We got Yo Mum in the house there. Cheesehead Country, Wisconsin, and almost $36 trillion. What else we got there? Nothing new under the sun. Sad. Yeah, definitely is sad. But we've got Trump there now, and he's got an amazing cabinet of superstars that are helping to clean it all up. Howdy again, just scrolling, and here we go, round 2 of the day. That's true. Round 2. Ding, ding. Good to see you, Peter. And of course, don't forget to get in the chats there on Rumble, as well as hit the follow button right now. Just smash that follow button, hit the like as well. Leave any comments you have, and of course, check out the Discord and Telegram in the video description there. Check it out. Definitely join up today. All right, so let's have a look at so we talked about the costs, right, that are currently going on, and we've got that in the house. But of course, we have this debt. So they were just going in to look at Social Security, which we can see down here is about $1.5 trillion. They're going through that, and then they found, all these illegal people sitting on Social Security, and of course that's one of the areas they're going to clean up. Besides, fraud from citizens and other things going on, particularly the Democrat Party, setups. So we're going to see how that goes, and they should be able to make tons of savings in them. Now we know we know Elon's targeting $1 trillion, but he could almost probably find $2 trillion or more. I bet you bottom dollar out of the $7.1 trillion, they could make massive savings on there. So don't be surprised if they get that down as well. Now, the one thing, of course, is that with all the spending, we know that people have been getting pretty rich. And Nancy Pelosi, of course, was one of the famous ones here. And, of course, she became super rich while she was in power. And, of course, all the political interests, the interest groups and all sorts of corruptions were going on. And on their salaries, which are decent salaries by anybody's imagination, ended up obviously getting super, super rich as well. And the irony about these, they push, fake climate change narratives. And then, of course, they buy, ocean homes and, mansions and things like that. So it's just hilarious. They do deals, political deals with expediency when they already own the stock, or they're going to be pre-getting the stock, and then they get it, and then they pump their own valuations, right? Which is one area which Trump either directly or indirectly has addressed by actually shattering quite a few of the stocks in their portfolio. So you can see that in 2018 that she had $46 million in real estate, $16 million in electronics, Apple with $15 million, and her property there at $15 million as well. And of course, she got a lot more richer after that during the Biden period. And of course, this is a problem that people have had, right? Campaign donors, lobbyists, widely viewed as having too much influence on members of Congress. And of course, that's because they've got a carrot for it, right? So they can not only steal taxpayers' money, but they can also benefit from a commercial, private money going into, military or, high technology companies that they invest in before. They just seem to know which are the right companies to invest in. And then, of course, they pass bills to prop those up with government contracts. It's just one big rinse after another at the people's expense, right? And then they just get up on there and pretend like nothing's happening. And, of course, the media is on their side. They're all corrupt. And Democrats, basically, and they do the same thing, right? So it's this reinforcement there. Now, we can see that under the Pew Research back in 2023, a lot of people said, well, people in their districts have too little influence over the government, right? 70%, whereas the people who donated a lot of money to their political campaigns 80%, right? So we have all those lobbyists and specialist groups, huge. So the people see it. The people know that what's going on, and the mainstream media pretends like nothing's happening. And of course, people like Nancy Pelosi just get super rich off it. Pretty crazy, right? And that's in addition to her husband being in the sector, investment sector. It is pretty crazy stuff. So that's sort of some stuff happening there. And of course, they've been finding all this corruption. It's all over the place. And then, of course, today we see obviously Trump trying to tidy up all of the voter IDs, dealing with corruption. And then we saw a video here following up on what Elon Musk did with actually an interview with illegal immigrants that had come into the country. So we're going to watch that too. So let's check that out.
Pues gracias a Dios me han ayudado a conseguir seguro médico, me han ayudado para obtener mi identificación de la.
So there we are. They got help with Signum. They got help with medical coverage. Obviously, within America, a lot of it's private medical and also IDs as well. So
Obtener el asilo, poder obtener mi permiso de trabajo y mi social.
So there we are. They got the work permit like we saw in the previous video, and then they got the social security card in this case.
Gracias a Dios ya me llegó mi social y mi permiso de trabajo.
Y que me llegue mi social security y mi permiso.
Do you have a worker's permit or social security number?
Solamente cuando pasamos, mi esposa y yo solicitamos el permiso de trabajo. Me llegó el permiso, solamente el permiso. A mi esposa le llegaron todos sus papeles, su socia, todo. A mí nada más me llegó el permiso.
So you get a social security number when you arrive to the border. They give you one.
No, after I apply for asylum.
You apply for DoorDash, you have the work permit and a social security number. How long do you have to wait until you get a job at one of these food delivery companies?
Around for the app is like 1 week.
So under the Biden era, you had a lot of NGOs, a lot of money funding through into the South America, into the actual gangs that were running the border, actually giving them money, actually then also giving them an app that they could use to get into America. They were flying people into America and working with the cartels. The Democrats are so evil. They're working with the cartels, human trafficking people. It's just absurd. The whole thing is just a nightmare. And of course, this is sort of some of the stuff that people were doing as well. And they were giving them step-by-step instructions. They had lawyers there. They would often break out with the NGOs having, tables and drinks and all the education you needed to get over as well, funding through people that are actually breaking the law. They're coming in legally, and they're coming in over and above illegal people that spend, a couple of years potentially trying to get into the United States. So it is pretty crazy there as well. And don't forget, America has a green lottery program, or at least the last time I checked it did anyway.
Buscando el social.
So you're looking primarily to the social security number. And you haven't gotten it after over a year?
Sí, lo recibí, pero lo guardé dentro de los papeles y lo ando buscando.
Like, what was the process like to get that job? Did you have to apply, and how did it work?
I applied for myself and give me my working permit and my social. That's why I used the social to open my application.
Okay. All DoorDash needs is social security number and work permit?
Social security number and an ID.
And an ID?
And an ID.
Okay. Did you have to interview with them or speak to anybody, or you just got a notification you can drive?
Yeah, it's a process online. You just fill the form.
Okay.
Yeah, after they open the account for you.
Okay. How quickly were you able to find that work?
Tanto que cuando te llegan los papeles, uno puede aplicar a la aplicación, o sea, abrir la aplicación, colocar el Social Security, del Social Security y el permiso de trabajo.
Did you get a social security number and a work permit?
Yo estoy pagando para eso.
Social security number, any papers that Uber requires?
No. Aquí, o sea, las personas que ya tienen el social, ellos se crean la cuenta y nos las alquilan a nosotros a un costo para nosotros poder salir a trabajar. Entonces eso es lo que tampoco me ayudaba mucho, porque tenía que pagar lo que es el alquiler de la bicicleta, más el alquiler de la aplicación, que son costos semanales, y entonces más.
So there is a lot of examples of people that are legally into the United States that have broken the law. They may be generally there to work, many of them. They want to get a better life, but they've all broken the law to get there, and they've all bypassed the legal system. So they're all basically criminals in the US law. And so there we are. And some of them, you don't know what their characters are. Even when they present themselves on the camera as being fairly nice, you don't know what characters are. They're going to do some crime later on. They're going to abuse somebody, and you just don't know, right? So there are lots of issues there with no character checks. Now, that's also a fair criticism of the immigration system as well. I don't know what the US character checks are there as well. but that's also gets gamed as well. We get that in New Zealand. We get our immigration is completely a big Ponzi scheme and gamed. We have all sorts of terrible character people coming into the country, and we've got a big ocean to protect us, right? So we don't have no border. We've got a big giant ocean, but they fly in through the airport, right? And our government is pretty much corrupt amongst immigration, right? So they have a campaign on immigration, but then they're flooding and replacing all the Kiwis here, and we've got a very small population. So the last time you see Kiwis are going to be very, very rare in New Zealand because it's all going to be we're going to be some other country, right? With these sort of moves, some other majority replaces the domestic population, right? So that's the problem there. All right, so that is some of the cool videos that we saw today. Elon Musk doing some amazing stuff around cost cutting, and it's pretty awesome. And of course, some of that is going to have a very big deal on the US debt, right? So you're going to save costs. You're going to cut back on illegals. They've shut the border down for the most part, 99% or so. And so you're going to have less people. You're going to have less crime on the streets, less drugs on the streets, less murders and violent crime, less rapes. And you're going to have less cultural conflicts and interactions. That's another thing, right? You can just be walking down the street and have cultural interactions. You never had a problem before, and now suddenly you've got some issues. You might have a gang group of guys walking around being abusive. All these different things that come with this. There's a good chance that will lower down. And of course, in America, they were flooding them with MS-13. I mean, these are horrific killers if they've got all the tats on and normally have killed somebody, right? So it is pretty horrendous stuff. So this is a big deal. And of course, you've got not only you've got big savings coming to America with the Democrat stuff, so you're cutting out a lot of indoctrination. We saw a lot of US aid was all indoctrination programs as far down in New Zealand and Australia. They were spending money everywhere, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, sending to indoctrinate us. We're not even in America, but to indoctrinate us with the same radical, progressive, crazy nut job ideologies, and of course trying to normalize some of the worst horrific crimes that there are in society, and they're still trying to do that here. It is pretty horrendous here. So it's a pretty big deal. And of course, they've got to tidy up the voting system, so they stop the Democrats from making America just a one blue state, and therefore they override democracy, right? And then it becomes basically an authoritarian state run by an elite. And of course, they also hand over more and more power to a global elite with the globalists. And of course, at the moment, the globalists are using the template in the European Union, right? European Union at the moment doing absolutely utter corruption with their judges and their courts. And of course, they're shutting down. Obviously, Marine Le Pen today was leading in the polls in France, and they basically found her guilty and going to ban her from of actually standing for 5 years. Exactly what the Vice President J.D. Vance said that they were doing. And of course, they just did that in France today. They've done it in at least 3 other countries in Europe. It is pretty terrible what they're doing because they want permanent power, and they just ignore a lot of conventions to do it. And of course, we see, like I say, children and parents being arrested in the UK just for speaking their mind on social media, and then they flood the country with very, very bad people. And then, of course, they also let the murders and rapists out. It's just horrendous. We're in an upside down world. And so hopefully Trump's going to have a major effect on that and bring the West back to the greatness it always was, right? So it's going to be quite the fight there for sure. So some pretty awesome stuff there. Democrat corruption, man, it is just riddled with it. But they've lost the House, they've lost the Congress, they've lost the presidency, and of course, there's still, I would say, a reasonable majority in the Supreme Court. So they have got it back against them. But what have we seen recently? We've seen all the judges in the United States. So what do they default to? Their last mile is they still control a lot of judges at a federal, state level, and of course they are trying to use those to stop Trump's executive orders on particular topics, including exporting criminals, illegal criminals, right? They're trying to stop all that. So there's going to be a battle in the courts, right? Probably through the Supreme Court there with the Justice Department. So it's going to be a big cleanup job. But then, Democrats don't give up easy. We also see them attack, funding these big attacks on Elon Musk and Tesla, trying to damage the stock price and hurt him. They love to hurt. They're all full of narcissists. The Democrat Party is full of narcissists. And they all pretend they're fighting for everybody. They want diversity, but they hate diversity. The Democrat parties hate diversity. They just want power. And of course, they just use it to control, divide and conquer. It's the same old strategy, divide and conquer. And of course, Democrats were the party of slavery. And so this is just a new form of Marxist globalist slavery, right? and of course they want permanent power that way. So yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. Trump's going to clean up the budget deficit, and of course get America back on the right track. At the moment, within like 2 months or so, he's already got $3.5 trillion of investment coming to the America with AI and semiconductors, car manufacturing that we're going to go into. Mexico and other countries are now going to the United States. He's talked about today having $5 trillion on the card, so another $1.5 trillion of investment coming in. Obviously, big Saudi money too coming in to buy something like $500 billion worth. There's lots of big stuff coming, and that's just in 2 months. Imagine what he can do over 4 years. And of course, this is even with $5 trillion, it's never been seen before, right? So the golden age of America is coming. The freedom is coming back to America, and hopefully that will get exported to some degree with a lot of pressure from the Trump administration to pressure countries in the West, like New Zealand, like Australia, like Canada, like Europe. Of course, Europe's the toughest one because there's so much utter corruption and a lot of unelected bureaucrats that are all serving for the globalist cause, right? So the WF and all those agencies are a big problem. Probably even the World Bank and stuff like that. So it's going to be a big fight ahead. Now, I think he's going to do an incredible job. We've already seen it coming out of the gate. They are moving lightning fast. They have to move lightning fast because the Democrats, the globalists, are so bad, and so they have to move so fast as well. And they're going to start kicking some of these judges down as well. They're trying to hold up Trump's mega plan to make America great again, and of course, hopefully, make the world great again too. Here's kind of where we are at the moment. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. Secrets exposed. They're getting exposed by Elon Musk one after another as he goes through all the different departments. So we can actually see some of those departments, right, as well. We can see them all here. The Health and Services Department, the Social Security Department, the Treasury Department, the Defense Department, the Veterans Affairs, Education, Agriculture, all there, right? Homeland Security, they're going through them all pretty much for the most part, maybe with the exception of the defense and a few other high security ones that they're going to modify their approach there. But it is a big deal, and you can see how much money goes through their budgets, absolute huge amount, 1.7 trillion, through the health and services, Social Security 1.5, as we pointed out, and it's pretty similar numbers as we see on the debt clock here up the top left here as well. So they've got a lot of work. They're going to cut out a lot of fat there, particularly out of these top ones, Treasury and so on. And I think eventually we might see some efficiencies in the Defense Department as well. We'll see how that goes. Now, some things that are happening at the Mexican border also, you often see a lot of weapons turn up in like Gaza and the US weapons. You know, what the heck, how they get there? Well, sometimes they cycled out through Mexico over to Gaza. So you got all these different trade routes for illegal guns and stuff like that. It is mad world out there, how many interconnections of crazy stuff the Democrats have been up to. So let's see where it all lands, and maybe that's a video for another day. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. Smash the follow button over there on Rumble and on YouTube. And I'll catch you on again tomorrow for our crypto show tomorrow. And of course, if you want to get to our Discord and talk more, the link's in the video description. Join up today. Awesome stuff. All right, take care, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next one. And the golden age of America, it's coming. It's coming. Woohoo! Thank goodness we dodged a bullet. And now we've got President Trump and his awesome cabinet leading the way. Elon Musk, of course, doing a fantastic job as well. All right, take care, everybody, and bye for now.